I was slacking off at work and sent a message to my online crush, "Buy me a cupcake now, you are the person who loves me the most in the world." In less than 5 minutes, the group gossip group exploded. The boss was just casting the screen, and someone with the note, "Baby," asked him for a small cake. Oh my god, the boss looks like he doesn't want anyone to get close to him. I don't dare to think about it. I don't dare to think about it at all. And I also received a message from my online lover, "Baby, don't worry. I was just working. I must be the one who loves you the most." Chapter 1. Recently, I started an online romance and met him in the virtual world, a person who moved my heart. We agreed that we would not exchange any photos before we actually met, and we would only perceive each other's existence through text and voice. This way of emotional communication that retains a sense of mystery adds a unique charm to our relationship. However, I still plan to meet him in person after the new year to see what he looks like. What if he is a handsome guy? His voice is very nice, so his appearance should not be bad? My vision of him is always optimistic and full of expectations. He is my outlet after busy work. In countless late nights of overtime, I have been fantasizing about what kind of person he is. He should be a very gentle and considerate person, right? Whenever I am exhausted, I will confide in him, and he always listens to me patiently and scolds the ruthless boss with me. Recently, my company ushered in an important project, and the entire group is immersed in a tense and busy atmosphere. My colleagues and I started working overtime day and night again, trying our best for the success of the project. Finally, with everyone's joint efforts, the project was successfully completed. I breathed a sigh of relief and enjoyed a moment of slacking off at my workstation. I was hungry, so I sent a message to my online lover, asking him to buy me a small cake as a reward. "Buy me a small cake now, you are the person who loves me the most in the world." However, in less than 5 minutes, the group gossip group suddenly exploded. It is said that when the boss was in a meeting, a person with the note, "Baby," suddenly sent him a message, asking him for a small cake. I was stunned. Oh my god, it can't be such a coincidence? Could it be the message I asked my online lover to buy a small cake? Everyone in the group ran out to eat melons. The note is actually "Baby." Oh my god, with the boss's look of keeping strangers away, I dare not think about it, I dare not think about it at all. And I also received a message from my online lover, "Baby, don't worry, I was just working, I must be the one who loves you the most." I instantly felt my heartbeat speed up and my cheeks were hot. Help, what is going on? Chapter 2. At this moment, my brain seemed to have experienced a short downtime, all sounds and colors disappeared, leaving only blankness and chaos. However, in this boundless chaos, the sound of a message broke the silence. I looked down and saw that it was a red envelope sent by my online lover. The cover read, "Please treat my beloved baby to a small cake." Then, he continued to send voice messages. I clicked and put it in my ear and listened. I was stunned and my heart beat like a drum. "Baby, I was in a meeting just now and didn't reply to the message in time. Are you angry with me?" His voice was very close to me, as if it was close to my side face and exhaled warm breath, which made me blush. However, I quickly recovered and had a deep doubt about his identity. Judging from the situation just now, he would not be the boss of our company, right? I carefully tested his occupation, and he told me lightly that he was just a self-employed person doing some small business. I tried to find more information from his words, but he always avoided talking, so I couldn't know his true identity. Well, maybe it's just a coincidence? He is such a warm-hearted little angel, he must not be a cold boss who exploits me and makes me work overtime every day. We officially agreed to meet after the new year, and I am looking forward to it. Before that, I need to go home for the new year and reunite with my family. When I returned home, I accidentally mentioned my online lover, but my cousin and aunt sneered at me. They thought that the online lover I found must be a minor or very ugly and afraid to meet people. Their words made me feel very uncomfortable, but I knew that I could not be affected by their words. The relationship between my online lover and I is stable and pure. Although we have not met, our hearts have been closely connected. I firmly believe that my online lover must be beautiful and kind, and is a rare good person in the world. What they said is absolutely slander, pure slander. Unexpectedly, at this moment, I received a gift that made them shut up, a New Year's gift from my online lover. Hee, this person is so good to me, really makes me proud. Chapter 3. When I opened the package and saw the carefully selected gift, I couldn't help but smile. It was a set of nutritional products suitable for the elderly and children, which took into account the physical needs of my parents and the growth needs of my little nephew. I wanted to buy it for my family, but this nutritional product was very popular and not easy to buy on the market. My parents were overjoyed. They had a strong interest and affection for this young man they had never met. They said that such a gift can express a person's sincerity and kindness better than any words. Although this gift is not very expensive, it is very thoughtful. It is like a spring breeze that blows away all the doubts in my family about my online love object. Our whole family felt the warmth and heart from him. In this cold winter day, a warm current came quietly and warmed my heart. His meticulous care and thoughtfulness raised my family's impression of him to a new level. Amid the praise of the whole family, I left with satisfaction and hid in my room alone. I opened my phone and saw that the gossip group in the company was in an uproar again. It turned out that my colleagues were talking about the boss. He had been looking at some gifts recently, wondering if the boss really had someone he liked. According to reliable information, the boss has been looking at some gifts suitable for the elderly and children recently. I'm afraid the boss really has something going on. Wow, who is so lucky? I'm so envious. The person who can make our boss so concerned must be very beautiful. After reading the group messages, I couldn't help but have a question mark in my mind. Did the boss also send nutritional supplements? This is too magical. Are he and my online lover in a parallel world? How can two completely different people often have such inexplicable similarities? Are they the same person? However, I finally gave up this idea. Because after a while, I remembered that the company was preparing a charity event some time ago to care for the disadvantaged groups in society. The reason why the boss paid attention to gifts suitable for the elderly and children should be for work needs. After thinking and judging, I feel that I am overthinking and oversensitive, which is why I connect two unrelated people together. They can't be the same person. My online lover is much warmer than my cold workaholic boss. Chapter 4. After reading the gossip, the group unfortunately received an infuriating news. I have to work overtime again in a few days. I sighed helplessly, hurriedly packed up my work things, and prepared to return to the company to work overtime. Originally planned to spend a good time with my online lover who I had never met in a coffee shop on a quiet afternoon. But at this moment, I had to squeeze this long-awaited meeting in advance before that damn work. The next day, the warm tone lights in the coffee shop created a warm atmosphere. I pushed open the door and looked around, looking for the long-awaited figure. Suddenly, my eyes fell on a man sitting in the corner. He was wearing a neat suit, with extraordinary temperament and full of elite flavor. I couldn't help wondering, is this the online lover I was waiting for? I walked towards him, feeling nervous and excited. When I approached, he raised his head and showed a gentle smile. "Miss, who are you?" When that familiar voice sounded, I was finally sure that he was the person I was looking for. "I'm Sophie," I said to him. He showed an expression of sudden realization, and then told me that he was Ethan. Wait. He's too handsome, isn't he? He's much more handsome than I thought, and he's the kind of handsome guy who looks very rich? As if he could see my shyness, he said to me in a teasing tone, "Why, Sophie, don't you recognize me?" Then he took out an exquisite jewelry box and continued, "I picked it a few days ago. I think it should look beautiful on you." I opened the jewelry box, and a string of purple crystal necklaces sparkled. So beautiful. I couldn't help but sigh. "Try it? I'll help you." Then he stood up and walked behind me, gently leaned down, and his slender white fingers brushed my neck. I felt the touch of his fingertips stroking, and my heart itched slightly. He put the necklace on me and praised me. "It's beautiful, it makes people's eyes light up." "Thank you." His compliment made me a little embarrassed. He looked very rich, I muttered to myself. "Oh, by the way, I forgot to buy you a gift." I slapped my forehead and said a little annoyed, "It doesn't matter, being able to see you is the biggest gift." He chuckled. "Huh? This guy is quite good at talking. Also, the nutritional supplements you sent to my house a few days ago were well received." I told him the truth. "Really? That's good. I was worried that it wouldn't be useful." He looked at me seriously and said. The atmosphere gradually became light and cheerful, and we chatted very speculatively. While talking and laughing, I felt very happy to be with him, as if there were only two of us in the world. Chapter 5. From work to life, from ideals to reality, we had a great conversation. In his words, I heard wisdom and experience, and also felt love and warmth. We talked for a long time and deeply, and I began to confide to him all the dissatisfaction and helplessness in work as usual online chats, and he listened patiently and gave some suggestions from time to time. But when I mentioned the name of the company, his face suddenly became dull for a moment. I noticed his strangeness and couldn't help feeling uneasy. Could he have anything to do with our company? Just when I was worried, he regained his calm, still maintained a gentle smile, and nodded politely. I should have thought too much. I breathed a sigh of relief, and the doubts in my heart gradually dissipated. But this reminded me, is the development between him and me too fast? Although we are so close on the internet, I feel different when we actually meet. Although I have gradually felt that this online love is not an illusory dream, but a real fate. But our face-to-face interactions were more like a meeting between netizens than an online romance. Maybe I should take a step back and let things take their own course? When he raised his head again, I actually found that his eyes were red. He looked at me with a puzzled look, and then shook my hand. I felt his determination and strength, but I still said, "It's nice to meet you. I think we should get along as friends first." "What? Are you going to break up with me?" He lowered his eyes, and his eyelashes trembled slightly. When he raised his head again, I actually found that his eyes were red. Looking at his aggrieved look, I softened my heart for some reason. How could I be so cruel as to say I wanted to break up with him? So, I said, no, I take back what I said just now, you are still my baby. Chapter 6. After returning to the company to work overtime, I was still immersed in the joy of meeting him. Although the work was still busy, my mood became relaxed and happy. I didn't know that a storm was about to sweep me. One afternoon, the sun shone through the window of the office, sprinkling on the desk in patches, and the air was filled with a faint tea fragrance. However, this quiet atmosphere was broken by a sudden storm. My supervisor, a man who usually regards himself as an authority, was standing in front of me with a red face at this moment, revealing an incomparable arrogance in his eyes. He tried to put the blame for a budget error on me. It was obviously his own mistake, but he wanted me to take the blame. I firmly rejected him and produced evidence to prove that it was his mistake that caused the loss. However, he did not restrain himself because of this. Instead, he became angry and asked me more forcefully. He threatened me that if I didn't accept the charge, he would make me leave the company. You'd better know what to do. His voice echoed in the office, shooting at me like a cold arrow. I was stunned, and the anger and grievance in my heart surged like a tide. I remembered his harassment of me, and those unbearable past events reappeared in front of me. He thought that I had no background, so he could bully me at will. But he was wrong. Although I didn't have a strong backing, I had an unyielding heart. I couldn't retreat or compromise. After the supervisor left, I called Ethan to tell him about it. On the other end of the phone, Ethan gently comforted me and said, "Don't worry, I know the senior management of your company, and I will definitely help you find a way to solve this problem." What? He also knows the senior management of our company? Although I had expected it, I was still surprised. This Ethan is really not a simple character. After talking to him on the phone, I felt a little relieved and started my own counterattack. Chapter 7. With a desperate mentality, I resolutely reported the evidence directly to the head office. The supervisor sneered at my behavior. He laughed at my whimsical ideas and thought that the head office would not care about the report of a small person like me. His eyes were full of disdain and contempt, saying, "You are just an insignificant little character, how can you shake the overall situation of the entire company?" Facing the ridicule and questioning of the supervisor, I did not feel angry or frustrated. On the contrary, I strengthened my belief. I chose to remain silent and responded to those doubts and ridicules with actions. In the process of waiting, I felt the length and heaviness of time. Every minute and every second was very painful, full of anxiety and uneasiness. But I always believed that my choice was correct, and I believed that the head office would give me a fair answer. Finally, after a long wait, I ushered in a turning point. The senior management of the group said that the boss would come to deal with this issue personally. When I heard the news, I was filled with indescribable excitement and joy. At that moment, I seemed to see the light of victory of justice shining ahead. The boss's arrival shocked the entire company. It is said that the boss launched an investigation with great force, not only verifying the content of my report, but also decisively firing the supervisor involved. After the matter was settled, I felt deep peace and satisfaction in my heart. Although I experienced many difficulties and setbacks in the process, I finally won the victory with my courage and wisdom. Hey, but I suddenly remembered that Ethan said that he knew the senior management of our company. Could it be that it was not the evidence I reported that attracted the attention of the boss, but he contacted the boss to help me? With the question in my mind, I planned to ask Ethan for clarification. Chapter 8. So, I confronted Ethan online. You said before that you know our company's senior executives. Is that senior executive the boss? After a while, Ethan replied, "Sophie, I want to meet you to discuss this matter in detail. Are you free this weekend?" Well, maybe he knows something inside? Maybe this matter is not as simple as it seems? I was a little confused, and then I agreed to his invitation. On the weekend, I went to the appointment on time. As a result, Ethan told me a fact that made me breathless. He didn't know the boss of our company, because he was the boss of our company. What kind of magical realism is this? My online love object is my boss. I call him baby every day, and say good morning and good night to him. I send him photos of my daily life. I also complained about my boss to him. My body trembled, and my pupils were horrified. We sat on the second floor of the restaurant. At this moment, the sun had set, casting a piece of afterglow at the end of the city. But I had no intention of appreciating this beautiful scenery. Question: if I jump from the second floor and land headfirst, what is the probability of dying on the spot? A. I may not die, but I will definitely become a vegetable. In front of me was a delicious black pepper steak, but I didn't move the knife and fork in my hand. I raised my eyes and glanced at the opposite side. Ethan looked normal, cutting the steak into pieces elegantly. As expected of the boss of the group, this kind of mind is not comparable to ordinary people. "It's okay, Sophie, you can do it. It's just an online love affair with your boss, it's no big deal." The other party suddenly looked at me, and our eyes met. I shuddered, like a deflated balloon, and the confidence I had instantly disappeared. Calm down, who can still be calm? Chapter 9. There was a slight knock in front of me. I lowered my head and saw Ethan put the cut steak in front of me and exchanged my untouched steak. Why don't you eat? My fingers on my thigh shrank unconsciously, and I said in a muffled voice, I'm not in the mood. The body is the capital of revolution. The other party persuaded me instead, with a gentle tone, you are too thin. You are thin, eat more. The restaurant is not an authentic Western restaurant. Looking at the man sitting opposite with a straight posture, cutting the steak on the plate skillfully, I can't tell what I feel in my heart. Coming here as Ethan is considered an injustice. We both drove, so we didn't order wine. Ethan asked for a glass of water and ordered a glass of milk for me. I said speechlessly, I'm past the time to grow up. Then I saw the man seem to smile and said, well, calcium supplement. What should I do? What should I do next? Who can stand this? I don't know how I finished this meal, and nothing tasted good in my mouth. After paying the bill, I walked out the door and was blown by the night wind. My thoughts, which had been confused for most of the day, finally became clearer. Ethan followed me and turned his head. I looked at him with my eyes downcast. He suddenly reached out his hand. I didn't know what he wanted to do, so I closed my eyes subconsciously. However, Ethan just helped me straighten my hair that was messed up by the night wind. My chest was pounding, and I couldn't tell whether it was because of nervousness or something else. After a long time of psychological preparation, I finally mustered up the courage to speak. Ethan. Ethan interrupted me gently, and his eyes were softer than the lights at night. What are your plans next? Chapter 10. Of course there is. According to the original plan, we went to the cinema across the street to watch a movie after dinner. The movie is a newly released foreign science fiction film with a compact plot and realistic special effects. Boys and girls will not feel bored. I booked a ticket for 8 o'clock, but now it is no longer necessary. Ethan saw my hesitation, blinked his bright eyes, and looked earnest. He is much taller than me, and his posture is as straight as a pine tree. The man bent down slightly and said, can you spend the night with me? The cinema is located in a busy area. It is the weekend, and the flow of people is also very large. Looking at the long line in front of the automatic ticket machine, I stood numbly. Why did things go this way? Why was I bewitched by him again? Why did we walk into the cinema shoulder to shoulder? I recalled the moment just now. Ethan's eyes are really beautiful, and his pupils reflect the neon lights, like a deep pool, and I fell into it accidentally. I silently despised myself for being easily trapped by the beauty trap. Forget it, even if the deal doesn't work out, we still have friendship. We have been in love online for so long. My phone vibrated in my pocket, and the message showed Ethan. I couldn't help but shudder. I have a conditioned reflex when I see this name now. He sent me a message. Sophie, what do you want to drink? I turned my head to look at the sales counter. The 1.8-meter tall man was dressed in a suit and holding flowers in his hands, which was very conspicuous in the crowd. I bought the set meal coupon, I will pick it up later. I replied. The line is too long, it's not cost-effective to queue twice, I will buy it directly, and keep the coupon for our next time. Haha, next time. I silently complained in my heart. I exhaled lightly, took the ticket I had picked up and walked out of the line, and Ethan just came out of the sales counter. He held a super large cup of iced Coke in one hand and a bucket of popcorn in the other, and there was even a bouquet of roses in his arm. Even in this busy state, he didn't look embarrassed at all. I hurried over and took the flowers and Coke. The flowers are for you. He curled his lips and said softly, there is no need to be so considerate. However, what is more considerate is that he ordered a couple set meal, with 2 straws on the Coke and a heart shape below that is eye-catching and eye-catching. It will take some time before entering, so we found a seat and sat down. The cinema was noisy, and the theme song of a certain movie was playing in the hall. The silence in our corner was out of place in the bustle. Help, I am watching a movie with my boss. What topic can break the silence? I am waiting online. It's urgent. The trailer of the movie we are going to watch was playing on the big screen opposite. I clenched my fist and said stiffly, the special effects are quite realistic. It's actually 2 hours. Has this actor starred in Avatar? Ethan paused as he looked ahead, then said, no, that's Sam Worthington. On the screen, the camera was giving a close-up of the white actor. Me, sorry. My ignorance was exposed. My show-off failed, and I didn't dare to speak again. Silence erected a wall between us. I gave up on communicating. A sudden chill came over my face. I couldn't help but turn my head away. Ethan touched my face with the iced cola in his hand. He seemed to be in a good mood today, and he was always smiling. Please don't laugh. When you laugh, my blood pressure rises, my heart pulse becomes disordered, and my chi and blood become unstable. Chapter 11. There was another long silence. A pleasant young female voice broke the silence between us. The girl was wearing a beige autumn dress, her long hair was loose, her cheeks were slightly red, and her eyes were staring at Ethan in front of her. I followed her gaze and looked to the side. The smile on Ethan's face was gone, the corners of his mouth drooped, cold and unkind. The girl's heart skipped a beat when he looked at her, but she still plucked up the courage to ask, "Excuse me, can I add WeChat?" Ethan didn't answer in a hurry, but turned his head to look at me. Then he moved his eyes halfway down. I looked down and saw the pink rose lying quietly in my arms, bright and juicy. I turned around and handed the rose over. "Give it back to you." Ethan held the flower in his hand, and then said embarrassedly in the confused eyes of the girl, "Sorry, I have a girlfriend." "Girlfriend? What do you mean you have a girlfriend? Who is your girlfriend? You are just my boss, right?" The girl looked at me, smiled awkwardly and said, "Sorry, I felt that you didn't talk much just now, and I thought you didn't know each other." Before I finished my guess, I heard the man next to me say, "Well, she is my girlfriend." I took a breath slowly. She looked at Ethan and whispered, "I wish you a happy marriage." Ethan had a sincere smile on his face. "I also wish you to find the right person soon." The girl wanted to say something, but Ethan stood up. "Our movie is about to start, can you please let me go?" The girl stood aside blankly, but saw the man stretched out his hand and took my hand very naturally. "Let's go." My whole palm was held, and I felt that my heart was also pulled. It didn't take long for me to reach the ticket gate. I was holding an iced Coke in my hand, popcorn in my arm, and my right hand was tightly held in someone's hand, and I couldn't get rid of it at all. The ticket was still in my pocket. Ethan looked back at me and said, "Call my name." My heart was pounding, and I thought for a long time before I shouted, "Sophie, I want to get the ticket." Ethan didn't say yes or no to this title. He seemed to have just realized my inconvenience and let go of my hand. My palms touched the slightly cool air, and I couldn't help but curl up. I deliberately chose a good position in the middle, where I had a wide view and didn't have to look up. I put the Coke in the groove of the middle armrest, and looked up. Ethan was using alcohol cotton to wipe my 3D lenses. "I'll do it myself." Ethan didn't give it to me, and he wiped it carefully before handing it over. He was so gentlemanly that it made my heart tremble. After I took it, I put it on my nose, and my vision blurred. Why hasn't the movie started yet? Why is the advertisement so long? Why is the trailer playing again? Can I complain? The phone in my trouser pocket rang, which was like the call of the savior. I couldn't wait to take it out and pretend that I was busy. This way, I don't have to talk to the man next to me. I looked down. "Ethan, don't be afraid of me. I can't avoid what I should avoid." I savored these words carefully. I actually tasted a sense of humility and request. My heart skipped a beat, as if a soft spot had been poked, and I softened instantly. Chapter 12. Was I so obvious? I didn't reply to this message, because I really didn't know what to say. The movie started soon, and I forced myself to get into the mood. Fortunately, the content was really exciting, with the protagonist and the villain fighting wits and courage. When the explosion happened, the special effects were too realistic, so I nervously grabbed the armrest. It wasn't a cold touch, but the material of the special suit was a little slippery. The touch under the fabric was hard and solid, and I instantly knew what I was holding. Ethan's arm was resting on the armrest. Sure enough, the man next to him looked over and asked softly, "Huh?" I seemed to be burned, and my hand immediately retracted. "Sorry." Scared? No. I was scared by the special effects, which was a bit embarrassing to talk about, so I made up an excuse casually. I wanted to get a Coke. As soon as I finished speaking, the big cup of Coke was handed to me. I wasn't thirsty, but I still took it and drank it casually while biting a straw. I looked over and saw Ethan looking at me with a complicated expression. He tried to hold back his smile. "I just used that straw." I lowered my head and slowly spit out the straw. My face was burning hot, as if I had touched something incredible. "Sorry, I forgot to tell you." Ethan took out the straw and held it in his hand, saying, "Drink it." I asked stupidly, "Don't you want to drink it?" "I'm not thirsty." Oh, everything was fine afterwards. Ethan seemed to be immersed in the plot of the movie. He didn't discuss the plot with me quietly, nor did he turn his eyes away. On the contrary, I looked to the side from time to time, which seemed more unbearable. After the movie ended, it was already past 10 o'clock. After leaving the cinema, the heat in my body subsided a lot. Today was too magical. I had no romantic thoughts any longer. I just wanted to go home at this time. It was a little cold at night, and my mind was in a state of confusion. Ethan stood in front of me and asked with a smile, "Would you like some midnight snack?" I pursed my lips. "No." Feeling uncomfortable? Ethan looked at my face and wanted to touch me with his palm, but I turned my head away. There was a moment of silence in the air. Ethan put down his hand and put it in his suit pants. My throat was dry when I spoke. I stood face to face with him, but I didn't dare to look at him. My heart seemed to be hit by a small hammer. I mustered up my courage and said what I had thought about thousands of times. "Ethan, it's like this. After you told me the truth, I began to think that I was able to successfully overthrow the boss because of you, and I fell into some doubts about myself." Ethan listened quietly, without moving or speaking. I took a deep breath and said it in one go, "So I think there are many misunderstandings and problems between us. I think we need to reconsider and examine our relationship carefully. I met those dark eyes and was speechless for a moment. I actually understand what Ethan thinks of me, but I don't quite understand it. I'm not stupid, but I'm not smart enough either. What does Ethan like about me? When I complain about him on WeChat every day, he must want to strangle me to death. I would rather believe that he is taking revenge on me. But seeing Ethan's expression, I don't know why, I also feel a little sad. Ethan nodded, I know. I hummed, thinking about whether to say something nice, and then I felt my head fixed by a big hand. Before I could react, I suddenly felt a warmth on my lips, and the strong breath of a man. Ethan kissed me. When I was defenseless. Chapter 13. The mall had closed its doors one after another, but some people still came out. Those people were looking at us. My first reaction was not nervousness, but shyness. I couldn't think anymore, only astonishment. I just drank a lot of iced cola, my lips were very cold, and the man's lips were even warmer and hotter. I knew what color my face was now without looking in the mirror. My cheeks were so hot that they were about to explode. It was a very short kiss. Ethan only stayed on my lips for a while, without any other unusual movements. When he pulled away, the air suddenly filled my nose, and I coughed violently. Before I asked, I heard the man say, Sophie, I want to tell you that it was actually my assistant who found that the content of your report was very detailed and very clear. He then said seriously, we will never allow such black sheep to exist. Ethan's words were loud and clear. Is that the case? I was still a little confused, still immersed in the kiss just now, and had no time to think seriously. I said goodbye to him hastily as if I was escaping, and returned home with mixed feelings. After returning home, I took a hot bath, but the fatigue all over my body did not ease a bit. Lying on the bed, I had no sleep, and my mind was full of today's experience. I met Ethan. Ethan is the boss of our company. We had dinner together and watched a movie together. Ethan kissed me. I reached out and touched his lips. Don't mention it, Ethan's lips are strangely soft, and there is a faint, unknown fragrance. I don't know what he applied. I can ask next time. What are you asking? Why am I so easily shaken by Ethan? I will have insomnia again tonight. Chapter 14. I didn't sleep well that night, and I had a fever the next day. I was so excited last night that I even forgot to close the sliding door of the balcony. I woke up in the morning and covered my forehead, which was scorching hot to the touch. I dragged myself to find the electronic thermometer and measured it, 38.5 degrees. Fortunately, I habitually prepared common medicines at home, and after taking the antipyretic medicine, I asked for leave from the Human Resources Department. I closed the balcony door, picked up the quilt and covered myself again, and lay back in the quilt. My head was dizzy and heavy, and I couldn't fall asleep even if I closed my eyes, so I just lay down and looked at my phone. The effect of the fever medicine came up, and I couldn't help yawning. Just as I was about to lock my phone, several red envelopes suddenly popped up on the chat interface. Ethan, congratulations on your wealth and good luck. Then there were 2 consecutive messages. Didn't you go to work? Not feeling well? Did you ask for leave? Me, yeah, I have a little fever. Ethan, have you taken the medicine? Me, I ate and want to sleep. After saying this, I couldn't help but yawn and gradually lost consciousness. I took a nap, and when I woke up in a daze, I heard the doorbell. I walked out in my slippers. Because I was not fully awake, I didn't react when I saw Ethan after opening the door. He raised his eyes, looked at me in front of me, and reached out to touch my forehead. Is your fever gone? His palm was warm and hot, and I couldn't tell whether it was my fever or the temperature of his palm. Yeah, it's gone a lot. I steadied my voice. What are you doing here? Ethan raised his hands and carried 2 bags. A bag of ingredients. A bag of fresh fruits. I was almost dizzy, and then I heard him say, come to cook for the patient. I really don't know if I'm sick at this moment, or for some other reason, my chest is so hot. I didn't expect him to cook in person. Lunch was stewed beef, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, vegetables and a bowl of rice. Seeing my frown, Ethan asked, what's wrong? I spoke with difficulty. I was wondering, why is there only 1 bowl of rice? Is there no more in the pot? Ethan replied, there is more. I was puzzled. Then you won't eat it? I put the rest in a thermos box. You can eat it in the evening. I blurted out, aren't you coming in the evening? Sophie, what are you asking? You have to be so confused to ask this question. The man smiled. Can I understand that you are inviting me? After a while, I said sullenly, I'll listen to you. Ethan's Adam's apple rolled, and he repeated, I'll listen to me? The corners of his mouth didn't have much arc, but his eyes were frighteningly bright. Although my tone was stiff, I was sincere. Yeah, Ethan, let me ask a question first. You ask. Do you still want to reconsider our relationship? I was completely mesmerized. No, Ethan said in a serious tone. Sophie, do you know what this means? What does it mean? I understand, and I don't understand. But I know that I was really happy the moment I opened the door and saw Ethan. Without waiting for my answer, Ethan picked me up by the waist and gently placed me on the sofa. He bent down and looked at me. I met his eyes and never felt so hypocritical. Before I could continue to think about it, Ethan suddenly lowered his head. The breath was close at hand. I seemed to feel the temperature of his lips. Reacting, I turned my head to avoid it, facing the sofa, and explained in a hoarse voice, "I'm sick, don't infect you." Then I heard a familiar chuckle, and then I was hugged by him. Ethan pressed half of his body on me and whispered in my ear, "You mean, you can save it for next time?" I wanted to shrink deeper into the sofa again. But I held back. As an adult, don't hide. Finally, I closed my eyes, nodded, and made up my mind, like a young lady getting into a bridal sedan, okay. Yes. Thanks to the internet, we are connected by a thread of love. End of story.